The moon hung low in the midnight sky, casting an eerie silver glow over the desolate train station. The air was still, and the only sound that could be heard was the faint rustling of leaves in the wind. The station had long been abandoned, its tracks overgrown with weeds and its platform cracked and withered by the elements. But tonight, something was different. Something was lurking in the shadows. Jenna had always been fascinated by the paranormal. She had heard rumors about the haunted train station for years, stories of ghostly apparitions and inexplicable phenomena. Tonight, she had decided to see for herself. Armed with her camera and a flashlight, she ventured into the darkness, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. As Jenna stepped onto the platform, she felt an icy chill run down her spine. The air seemed to grow colder with each step she took. Her flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows on the cracked tiles. She couldn't help but wonder if she had made a mistake coming here alone. Just as doubt began to creep in, she heard it. A faint, distant sound like the whistle of a train. But there were no trains scheduled to pass through this station anymore. Jenna's heart raced as she followed the sound, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The platform seemed to stretch on endlessly, and the sound grew louder and more distinct. Finally, Jenna reached the end of the platform and found herself standing before an old rusted train. It looked as if it hadn't moved in decades, covered in a thick layer of dust and cobwebs. But that wasn't the strangest part. The train was emitting a dim, ghostly light from its windows, and Jenna could swear she saw shadowy figures moving inside. Summoning her courage, Jenna climbed aboard the haunted train. The air inside was heavy and suffocating, and the dim light cast eerie shadows on the tattered seats. As she made her way down the narrow aisle, the feeling of being watched became overwhelming. She turned around to find herself face to face with a ghostly conductor. His eyes were hollow, and his uniform was torn and faded. "Tickets, please," the conductor said in a hollow, raspy voice, holding out his hand as if expecting a payment. Jenna fumbled in her pocket, her hands trembling as she handed him an old tattered ticket she had found on the platform. The conductor examined it for a moment before nodding and disappearing into thin air. Jenna was left standing in an empty train, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly, the train began to move, lurking towards the deafening screech of metal against metal. Jenna stumbled and fell into one of the seats as the train picked up speed, hurtling through the darkness. Panic washed over her as she realized she was trapped on this spectral journey. The windows of the train revealed a surreal, nightmarish landscape outside. Twisted trees loomed in the distance, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. Strangely, ghostly apparitions danced along the tracks, their eyes fixed on Jenna as the train sped by. It was as if she had been transported to another world, a world where the living and the dead coexisted. Hours passed, and Jenna lost all sense of time. The train showed no signs of slowing down, and the eerie figures outside continued to beckon to her, their voices whispering in the wind. Jenna's fear turned to despair as she realized she might never escape this haunted train. Just when she thought she couldn't take it anymore, the train screeched to a sudden halt. Jenna was thrown from her seat and onto the floor, her camera clattering to the ground. She picked herself up, her body aching from the impact. The train was now stationary, and the ghostly figures outside had gathered around, their hollow eyes fixed on her. As Jenna stumbled out of the train, she found herself back at the abandoned station. The moon had disappeared behind thick clouds, and the darkness was all encompassing. She was no longer alone, surrounded by the ghostly apparitions. They seemed to be waiting for something, and Jenna couldn't shake the feeling that she was a part of whatever was about to happen. Suddenly, a deafening whistle pierced the air, and a ghostly train, identical to the one she had just left, emerged from the darkness. The conductor appeared once more, his hollow eyes locking onto Jenna. "Welcome to the haunted train," he whispered, his voice carrying through the night. The spectral train pulled away from the station, disappearing into the darkness with Jenna on board. As it faded from view, she couldn't help but wonder if she would ever return to the world of the living. The haunted train station had claimed another passenger, and Jenna had become a part of its chilling legend.